Hey guys, it's your favorite gold miner, prospector, and geologist, Jeff Williams. And today I thought we'd do something different. Got you way up here in the mountains. I figured today we're gonna go looking for some of these lost caves in these old treasure stories that you read about. Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? And speaking of cool, it's snowing out today. What's going on? Last week it was 80 plus, and now I got snow everywhere. And this is what I'm talking about. Take a look. Take a look at that bunker. Oh yeah. This is the kind of caves you're looking for. Because this is where you can hide stuff. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna comb around these limestone cliffs and see if we can find things. This is incredible. Look at all this snow coming down. I can't believe it's snowing. Can you believe that? Just have a look. I got storms coming in. Oh man, I might have to stay in here till this blows over. But there's caves like this all over the place in this limestone. And the reason why is because limestone erodes really easily with carbonic acid, which is basically carbon dioxide and rainwater mixed together. And as it seeps into these fractures and fissures, it erodes it away easily. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. Now the reason why this treasure's here is because it's right next to the Spanish Trail. And I'll tell you more about it as we get up around some of these other areas. But I'm not gonna do anything until you smash that like button. Smash it hard! You see, this is what I'm talking about. Somebody dug this hole out right here, put all the dirt right here. So this would be a good area to check. And I'll get up around there too. Now I know you're saying, Jeff, why didn't you bring a metal detector? I did, I'm gonna go get it, so just keep them pants on. If you would have told me last week that it'd be snowing up here in the hills, I would have said you're out of your mind. But look at this, there's snow everywhere. Oh, I hope it lets up, because if not, I'm gonna turn into a snowman. Now the reason why the treasure's here in the first place is because it's right next to the Spanish Trail. And a lot of the settlers were coming across using the Spanish Trail. But the problem is when it got too hot or their oxen started to get tired, they would get rid of some of that treasure, which is basically gold, silver, and artifacts, things like that, and they would bury it in caves. There have been some archaeologists that have already found ones like this simply by using this logic. And so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna head down to some areas where I think it's better, and I'll give you some more history about the Spanish Trail along the way. Between the years of 1826 and 1827, Jedediah Smith was known for traveling from Los Angeles up into Utah. Antonio Mijo was only attributed to traveling the route in 1829. John C. Fremont, who was a U.S. government surveyor, was responsible for the term Spanish Trail. In the days before the Transcontinental Railroad, mule trains were a prominent means of hauling freight into the West. Much of what became the trail was already well used by the natives long before Europeans arrived. From Las Vegas, the Armijo route took him across to the Spring Mountains. A later branch of the trail ran south through what is now known as Good Springs, before rejoining Armijo's route near the Immigrant Pass. Now this is either a grave or they buried something in there. And judging by the size of it, I'm gonna say it's a grave. Now this is the original Spanish Trail. This is the route that the Spaniards took when they came up out of Mexico and they were coming into the States looking for Cibola, the 7 cities of gold. You can find old bottles here because the old timers came on this road because it was a well-established route. But like I was saying, what they did is they were torturing a lot of the natives to find out where Cibola was at. So as the Spaniards pushed forward up through what is now northern Mexico and into what is now United States, they came up through this part of Nevada and they were headed for Utah. So what the Spaniards would do is that they would send their guides out first and they would look for sources of water. And then as they moved forward or north, they would go from water source to water source. And then eventually they wound up in Utah and then circled back around down into New Mexico. And you can see this route in front of me. This thing has been used since the days of the Spaniards. And it goes all the way down and around to each of these little watering holes. There's one over there, there's one in that hill, there's one on the other side of this hill, and then there's one over at the base of that hill in the far distance. Now the reason why this is important is because later on the settlers who were traveling out west to California, they would use these routes because they were already established and they connected to all the sources of water, which was important for the horses and the livestock. Of course, the route that we're walking on ties in with the southern route through Death Valley. Now, if you remember, there was a group of settlers that were headed out west, and they had missed the window to get over into the northern part of California. So they said, you know what? We'll take the southern route. So they took the southern route. Well, the problem with that is they got into Death Valley during the hottest time of the year. And of course, along the way, they had to lighten up their loads. And this would include things like clothing and personal effects, and of course sometimes gold and silver. And they would put it in a chest, and they would find a cave that's next to the road, and then they would put it there with the intentions of coming back. Do you see how that works? That's why you can find these little treasures inside of these limestone caves next to the Spanish Trail. Isn't that cool? But unfortunately, a large group of those people didn't make it through because it was so hot. A lot of their oxen died. They died along the way. And then that's how Death Valley got termed Valley of Death, because when they were leaving, they said goodbye, Valley of Death. And that coined the phrase Death Valley. Wow, look at that. See that? That's a piece of copper ore. Now, you're saying, Jeff, how the heck did that get onto the trail? Well, that's easy, because this route was used by a lot of the miners who had mines up in these hills up here. Now, a lot of that is replacement deposit in limestone. So you're gonna have a lot of copper, lead, zinc, and silver up in those hills. And they would use this road as a haulage road to get all of their ore down so it could be put on rail and then sent out to be processed. That's why it's so cool to walk around on these Spanish trails, is because they were multi-purpose highways for the old timers. And they would come down here and toss stuff out, or stuff would fall off the wagon. That's something I'm curious about. You see that? See that cave way up on the hill with the light coming through? I think we should go up there and take a look. What do you think? But I'm not gonna do anything till you smash that like button. Smash it hard! Wow, look at this. See all these different bedding planes of all this alluvial gravel that's washed down? And look, you can see a piece of sandstone right there. Now, when you're sampling things like this, the areas that you're looking for is where the largest stones have been consolidated. You see this? I've got this really fine pea gravel here, and then I have some of these bedding planes in between this finer gravel. And then look at this, all of a sudden it gets huge. Where this comes in contact with the next layer, which is called a contact zone, that is where you sample. So you see how you've got this zone here, between here and here, of these large gravels, and then you got this pea gravel. Right here is where I would be sampling, right along here, because it takes a lot of water to move these things. And then again, down here, see these large stones? It takes a lot of water to move these. I would sample where it comes in contact with that. And if you happen to have one of these areas that's been cut by erosion, you're going to be looking for the largest collection of stones, like this. It took a tremendous amount of water to move these. And where all these are sitting here on this, right here is where I would be sampling, right in here, because all the gold is gonna drop off down here to the bottom. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Nice. You can see all the silt material in there too, which means the gold would just drop to the bottom if there was any. And you see where it starts here and it goes along here. Look at the size of that monker. It comes along here and then it stops right here. See that? Those are the little pockets that you need to check for if you have these walls where erosion is cut through, because that is where you're going to find your highest concentrations of gold if there's gold in that area to be found. I love looking at areas like this that have been eroded away because it gives me a snapshot back into the past. And that way, if I see anything interesting, I can go ahead and sample it. And that's what you should be doing too if you find places like this. I know, get on with it, Jeff. We want to see some caves. I want to see, no, actually I want to see some treasure in a cave. Now, I want you to look at this. This doesn't look like much to you guys, but to me, it means a lot. This section was carved out on purpose. You see this? This used to be part of the old Spanish Trail right here. That's an old Spanish Trail marker. 1829 to 1848. Isn't that cool? Now, this is a newer marker, but back in the 60s, there was a guy who went around the entire length of the Spanish Trail, and he put these up himself out of his own pocket. Can you imagine that? In fact, me, my dad, and Nevada Jack, we went around finding these things. We even made a video about it. It looks something like this. Now, the story says it was on the Spanish Trail, and the Spanish Trail is right here. Now, this is what's called a centennial marker. The centennial marker basically was put here in 1964 by a guy named Sherwin Scoop Garside. Now, if you want to learn more about the Spanish Trail, I highly recommend you get this book. It's called The Old Spanish Trail Across the Mojave Desert by Harold Steiner. Fantastic book. I've used this book so many times to pinpoint where the trail goes because there's a lot of old treasures that are supposed to be along here. This is clearly a man riding a bicycle. See the front wheel and the back wheel? And he's got his hand on his hip and he's going this way. Ah, look, the 4 Bs. March 15th, 1925. Wow. RMB, WB, EC, EGB, and JGB. But it's a map of some kind. See the map I was talking about?
Yeah, right here.
So you think that's the big rock here?
Yeah.
And then this is where the possible treasure's buried here. Now look at this limestone. You see how it's pitted? That's because it's easily eroding away. And this is razor sharp. If you fall on this stuff, oh, it's gonna tear your pants off and your skin. But it's really cool because you can find fossils in it. But you see how razor sharp that is? Yeah, pants off, dance off. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to fossils, so if you guys know what kind of fossils are embedded in this limestone, leave me a comment down below. But there's the ones that look like clamshells, and then the long squiggly ones like we find in the drift mine. You know, it's funny, just a minute ago I was freezing my butt off, and now the sun's out and it's hot again. All right, let's get on up there and see what's in this thing. Nice. Oh yeah, he's a good sized one. Holy cow. Look at that. I could have lunch in here. I could have lunch in here, Bubba. Got birds living in this one. All right, let's take a look around. I know I got animals living in here. I want to know what's back up in there. Probably a really big bird that lives in here. Nice. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that, Bubba. Holy cow. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look, see what we got. Let's take a look and see what we got, Bubba. Nice. I don't see any pockets. I don't see any pockets going down. I see a big old rat's nest in there. Nice turds in there. I can see where a bird's been living up there. Let's see what's up in here. See, it don't really go anywhere because it's going up. You want them to go down. I don't see anything. Nothing to write home about. I'm looking for some initials too. Sometimes the old timers would come through here and put initials in these caves, and I've seen that a lot too. But I'm not seeing any initials in here. We'll poke around a little more. Yeah, definitely birds have been living in here. Definitely. See, this is what I would expect to go back in. I'm not seeing anything. No initials, no markings. Nothing that says that they were here. I don't really think this is a good candidate. It's too big, it's too exposed. Everybody and their uncle can see it, and I'm sure they've already cleaned out anything you can find. What we're looking for is the tiny little pocket caves that are hidden out of view. Those are the ones that, if there's anything to be hidden, will be in there, and people probably haven't seen it, so they haven't cleaned it out. So we're gonna walk along the Spanish Trail and see if we can find something like that. All right, I got a couple pocket caves over here. We're gonna go up and take a look at them. If I can figure out a way how to get up to them. Remember this limestone, you gotta be careful. It's right up there. Oh, this is the perfect kind of cave. Look at that. And it goes back in there too. Somebody was hot-footing it out of here and they left their shoe behind. Got a really big shoe for you tonight. Oh yeah, it's not bad. This is the perfect kind. But seeing as how there's a shoe out front, that tells me that you got yahoos that were in here. And when you got yahoos, you got what? Trash and fires. So I'm gonna take a look around this hill and see if I can see anything. Could you see that? You got one person hop around on one shoe. I tell you what, just when you think you found a remote spot, yahoos got there first. And I don't understand why people gotta light fires everywhere they go. I know, get on with it, Jeff, I know. Let me keep looking around. There's, looks like a little tiny cave, but I don't see anything. You're not gonna fit in there. It looks like they were trying to clean it out. You see that? Right there. Oh yeah, it's got some depth to it. Yeah, I'll shine a light in there, see if I can see anything. It's definitely worth taking a look at. All right, let's go in there and take a look. Oh, it's got some depth to it. See that? It looks like fire marks or something. Maybe that's the burn marks from the other side. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I don't see. Oh wow, that one's deep. That one's deep. Let's take a look. Oh, this limestone is hard on the old kneecaps. That's cool. Oh, there's a big rat's nest in there. Oh, there's a can way back there. Oh, there's a can right there. That is so cool. See it? Looks like an old cigarette tin right down in there. That is cool. I don't see anything else down in there. We'll see if we can fish it out. Yeah, there's a can way down there. Oh, and there's one right there too. You see it? I don't know if you can see it. Right, there's I think that's a can. I can barely see it. I don't know if you guys can see it. Get the camera in there. You see it? I can't see it, but maybe you can. Fish, at least fish this one out. That's pretty cool. That is pretty darn cool. Oh yeah. Oh man, there's all kinds of stuff down there. I can feel air. So I'm assuming this one connects to the other one. There's the first one. Oh, it's an old cigarette tin. Hey, that's in pretty good shape. There's nothing in it. No cigarettes, no coins, no money, no nothing. Can! Let's see if I can get the other one out. I hope there's nothing living in there. Come on. I got it. I got it. Nice. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, it's an old Prince Albert can. It's in pretty good shape too. Yeah, it's got something in it too. All right, let's see what's inside. See what's inside, Bubba. It don't feel heavy enough to be a coin. Don't feel heavy enough to be a coin. I don't want to damage it. What the heck is that? Ah, God, it's just rocks. Ah! It's supposed to have a map to where the treasure is. But this is my point. Check around these old places around the Spanish Trail or any of these old mining routes and get up into the hills off to the side, not too far away, and look around to see where the old timers might have hid something. Because many a treasure has been found this way, especially like I said on the old Spanish Trail that leads into California. A lot of these old pioneers had to get rid of a lot of stuff just to make the journey. Because if it's too hot and they don't have enough food and water, they got to get rid of some of that weight. According to Jerry Freeman, an archaeologist who found the chest in November, it contains 149-year-old artifacts from a party of 49ers on their way to the California gold rush. Inside the chest was a mother lode from the past. 80 coins, some of them gold and silver, with a pair of perfectly preserved baby shoes, flintlock pistols, pottery bowls, and a letter from William Robinson, a gold rush pioneer who became lost in Death Valley. The letter from Robinson was folded in a book of hymns and tells of a man lost in despair. Is dated January 2nd, 1850, and says, "My dear Edwin, know now we should have gone around. If I don't return by the end of 50, I'll never come home." Robinson never came back to the world he left behind. He died a few weeks later at an oasis at the edge of the Mojave Desert. Jerry Freeman valued the find at about $500,000. All right, I'm gonna take a look around on the other side of this hill, but it's starting to get dark. And you know what comes out after dark? That's right, the things that we can't speak of. Ooh, all right, let's go check the other side of the hill. See where the rocks are all lined up right there? See that? Somebody, yeah, this is a trail right there. Do you see it? Yeah, this is a trail. And I don't think donkeys did this. See, the rocks been scattered to the side. There's a bunch of caves over here. Wow, look at this. See, look at this. See these rocks? See this? Ain't no burro doing that. And it comes over here. See the rock stack? All the way over here. And what do I see? Cave there, cave there. It goes right in that cave that's hidden behind that bush. Yeah, see the rock stack right there? Goes all the way up into there. Yeah, I know, I can hear it from here. Jeff, stop all that chin wagging and get up in there and see what it is. Man, you guys are a tough crowd. All right, here we go. Which one do you want to do first, huh? Which one first? That's cool. That's a waterfall right there. But this is what I'm curious about. Look at this thing. What is that? Anybody home? I hope not. Oh yeah, it's a little cave. A bird's been living in here. Bird has been living here. Oh, I see bones everywhere. I see bones, but it doesn't go anywhere. Why would somebody make a trail up here if it didn't go anywhere? Unless I'm missing something. I see little pieces of wood everywhere. I don't know if that's from a box or what. All right, let me go check out this other one. But the trail comes right to here. I can see it, plain as day. All right, let's take a look at this one. Oh, oh, oh. Look at that monker. He goes in plenty far. Wow. Oh, I wouldn't mind coming back and digging him out. That's another cave, but it don't look like much. See that one right there? It don't look like nothing. I don't see any boxes. Any boxes of coins. I wonder why somebody made a trail all the way up to that cave. Unless they were living in it. I'll have to fly the drone up here and see what I can see. Because it's just too much land to cover. And that way I can get around the entire hill and I can get over into these hills too. But yeah, somebody made a trail going right to that cave. And look at this I found on the trail. The trail's going up the hill there, up to there. And this is a marker pointed what direction? That way. So that means there's something up there. Cut! Ooh, I hate it when people leave a whole bunch of clues for me to find buried treasure and it's getting dark and those things that we can't speak of start to come out. Now I'll go ahead and send the drone up. We'll get around the other side of that peak, that mountain. I know, enough gum flapping. Get on to getting up there. We want to see some treasure. I want to see some treasure too. What the heck is that? Chicka chicka wow wow, chicka wow wow. It's somebody's pants. Hey, I didn't hear any banjos playing, did you? Don't you say nothing, you just dropped them pants real good like. I found another old road right here, you see it? That's right. And it's leading me right into those mountains over there. You know what's gonna happen, right? I'm gonna be out here after dark. I'm gonna have to stay in one of these caves overnight. Ooh, I got a whole bunch of them up on that hill. But that temperature's dropping fast. Oh man. You know, that's what's so cool about walking around out in the desert here, is if you just cut out straight across the desert, you never know what you're gonna find. So that's why I like hitting these parts that nobody goes to. Because look at this, I found this old road, this old trail. And this is the stuff that you want to find, because this is the stuff that's gonna lead you to maybe some old placer diggings, or there might be some old relics on the side. That's what you should be doing too, is looking for those old roads on Google Earth that don't seem to go anywhere, that you can barely see. Those are the ones you need to investigate. Because so many times I followed them and they lead somewhere. Even though it looks like they just dead end, you gotta get boots on the ground and look around. Do a little sampling. Come on, get off that couch, stop eating those chips. What the heck are you doing? Ah, look, see that? This is an old trail. I told you, but you wouldn't believe me. Somebody was coming out here on purpose. This is an old unmarked trail. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Son of Jim. You can tell that this is a really, really old road. And they were probably running wagons on this thing, but yeah, I've never seen this before. And I'm just walking out across the desert and I ran into it. This is pretty cool. You know I gotta follow it, right? I can see snowfall coming. Yeah, this is an old one. Wow. See the rocks that are stacked along the side here? See where the road comes down, the two ruts right here? And it goes down into this wash. Look at this polished limestone here in the wash. This is a perfect place to sample. See these cracks and cobbles? This is excellent. I might have to take a sample here. And that's what you should be doing too. If you see any kind of bedrock in an area that produces gold that's exposed, and especially if it's running perpendicular to the wash, clean out those cracks and crevices. Just sample it. And in several places too. Who knows, you might be on your own personal hot spot that everybody's overlooked. Look at that zone right there. That's what I'm talking about. This one right here. This is where you should be sampling. See that? This thick little zone right here. And you want to sample at the contact zone between that and the one underneath it, especially if it's got clay or some type of false bedrock or a real bedrock, because that's where the gold's gonna hang up, because it can't go any lower. Remember, big rocks, big gold, little rocks, little gold. And speaking of gold, we're giving away 10 incredibly rich bags of pay dirt from our world famous drift mine. They look something like this. And to help you find that gold, we're giving away a brand new Gold Monster 1000 metal detector at the end of the month too. If you want to get your hands on any of that stuff, just look for the little icon at the end of the video that looks something like that. Click on it, make a $10 pledge, and you instantly qualify to get your hands on all of this stuff. And I'll see you on the next video.